your face.
You wouldn't even know what you said. She only could remember stuff from way back. She could remember all her brothers and sisters. You know, she couldn't remember anybody that she met in the last 30 years.
I gotta rotate like this. I gotta be like this.
Oh,
When I,
can you? Oh, okay, boy. Yeah, I don't know. Yes,
I'll just hold it.
okay.
These two people are fun. These three people are fun.
Okay, I guess this is all we're gonna have. Anyway, like to welcome you all here. Hopefully we can have a good night, even though we've got a small crowd. He says, hey, he's willing to talk to however many people are willing to listen. So this is a subject that is you've heard about, artificial intelligence. Anyway, so like to say welcome from our Adult Faith Formation Committee. Okay, good enough? Okay. Anyway, first and foremost, because I think some of you people aren't from St. John's, but you know the most important thing, bathrooms are out the door and to the left. So bathrooms, that's what you need to know. After the talk, we'd invite people to hang around. We have snacks and refreshments, and we like to encourage people just to hang around and visit for. I think people might be interested in talking to anybody that has any other questions, and what this is, this is for learning and for socialization too. So anyway, talk about AI, artificial intelligence. I've been hearing a lot about it. Technological shift, but it's not just a technological thing. It's also an issue from a moral standpoint, and it needs to be addressed. And it is a serious enough issue that even Pope Leo has already started addressing early in his term at Pope, as Pope here. And one of the things he said, and I guess I'm stealing one of Pete's pictures here, it's AI is another industrial revolution, posing new challenges for the defense of human dignity, justice, and labor. And that is from a statement that Pope Leo made in May of 2025, shortly after his election. So that kind of says how important he views some of the issues associated with AI. AI does impact markets, workforces, and society. It also impacts what information we receive, what we learn, how we think and feel, and even at times what we believe. And the question is, how many of us are aware of when something we see or read on the internet, is it AI generated or AI filtered? I know myself, I've gone through reading articles and that, and all of a sudden say, something doesn't sound right. I don't think a human wrote this. And go through and find out, at the end it says, this was a AI generated article. Yeah. And I know I've seen it often. There's even, I've seen it with financial articles, which can be kind of scary, but even more scary might be there's even people that are pushing AI for counseling. What could go wrong with that? Well, this is kind of a thing that one of the things Pete will talk about. Anyway, our speaker here is Pete Del Camara. He's founder of Del Camara and Associates, a firm dedicated to helping create businesses that improve people's lives. His work is rooted in the practice of humanity-centric innovation, a philosophy that seeks to solve humanity's greatest challenges in an economically viable way. He believes the definition of a business should shift, not to someone who accumulates $1 billion, but to someone who positively impacts 1 billion lives. Before launching his firm, he was a senior R&D, He was a chief scientist, vice president of corporate research and engineering, and site leader for the Innovation and Operational Excellence Center at Kimberly-Clark Corporation. In these roles, he led the discovery, development, and global delivery of science and technology across every business, brand, and region. And prior to Kimberly-Clark, he was an R&D executive at the Dow Chemical Company. To cut this short, I'm just going to paraphrase Yogi Bear and say, he's smarter than your average engineer.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, thank you. Is this microphone on? Can you guys? And if once I get going, if you can't read some of the slides, feel free to move up. I don't have like a lot of small print or anything, but at the same time, there may be some things that are of interest that you'd want to see it a little bit closer up. First and foremost, I'm a husband and father. Children go to St. Margaret Mary Parish. Been there since 2006. Currently serving as the Secretary Trustee for St. Margaret Mary Parish. And really pleased to be here tonight. What I really want to talk about is the fact that artificial intelligence is advancing exponentially. And human beings have been the smartest species on the planet for 100,000 years. And most experts think within the next 5 years, we'll be the second smartest entity on the planet as artificial intelligence gains superintelligence. And as that happens, it's going to be incredibly important that we have very strong faith and that we focus on really maintaining human dignity. And as Steve mentioned, the first Sunday after Pope Leo was appointed, we talked about the importance of AI and having human dignity and the fact that this is the next industrial revolution. And one of the reasons he said he took the name Leo is because Leo the 13th, when he became Pope, he was really concerned about the Industrial Revolution and people going from, farms to factories and concerned about human dignity because of the Industrial Revolution. So that's one of the reasons why Pope Leo took the name Leo, is because he wants to try to have an impact on the next Industrial Revolution, similar to what Pope Leo the 13th did. And it's this, revolution that we're part of. If you go back to, the steam engine, assembly, electrification, computers, and now we're in this whole area of AI and robotics. And I really do think robotics is today about where AI was about 5 years ago. So we're going to see an incredible advance in robotics as well. You may have read that Elon Musk is shifting a lot of his manufacturing in Tesla to these humanoid robots. And I don't know if you saw 60 Minutes a couple weeks ago where they showed this humanoid robot at Hyundai from Boston Dynamics. But it is phenomenal what robots can do today. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of humanoid robots. I think once upon a time we thought you'd have a humanoid robot behind the wheel of a car, driving the car, but that's not what's happened. The whole car is the robot. You get inside a robot and it can drive you around autonomously. So this is the revolution that we're on. This is something Pope Leo is concerned about, and I think it's an important thing for us to talk about, so I'm very happy to hear this evening. So let's talk a minute about how our world is changing and how our world has changed. And so what I'd like you to imagine for a second is just pretend it's 100 years ago today. And here we are, a group of concerned citizens and Catholics gathered together looking at the technologies that are impacting our world. And right at our fingertips are these technologies that have been introduced to the world in the last 50 years. It's the first time we've ever seen electricity. In 1900, nobody had electricity. The telephone was invented in 1876, but hardly anybody had telephones. The automobile was, just invented within the last 50 years. The Wright brothers had just flown in 1903. Air conditioning was introduced. Albert Einstein published his papers in 1905 on quantum physics, solid state physics, and the atomic bomb. All these technologies, we think we're living in a pretty dynamic time now. Imagine the world from 1890 to 1926 and how much changed in that period of time because of these technologies. They completely revolutionized the 20th century. And so if we fast forward to present day, it's the same thing. Here we are, a bunch of concerned citizens and Catholics, and within the last 50 years, we've seen the advent of these technologies. Nanotechnology, the ability to build matter, atom by atom and molecule by molecule, synthetic biology, using DNA, quantum computers, artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, blockchain that enables Bitcoin, and additive manufacturing like 3D printing. And now we're even seeing atomically precise manufacturing, the ability to make materials at the most sub-micron. And these technologies are going to completely revolutionize the 21st century. And so I'm going to specifically talk about AI, but AI actually enables all those technologies. So it's things like 3D printing prosthetics. So that's an example of additive manufacturing, or advanced robotics, from NASA and from Boston Dynamics. And now these augmented reality glasses, that instead of looking at your phone, you just put on your glasses and up pops the images right in front of you, so that you can navigate wherever you're going. I think what I'm gonna like for that is it'll have glasses like that, and it'll be like, this is Steve. So all that's coming within the next few years. So what drove this change? and what is driving this change? The first thing is computing power. And so this is a picture of the ENIAC in 1945. It weighed 30 tons, would have taken up 1,800 square feet, and could perform 5,000 operations per second. Now, all of us have a computer in our pocket that does 17 trillion operations per second. It's over 120 million times faster than the ENIAC. So the first thing that's driving this change is just compute power. And the computing power continues to advance exponentially. That's Moore's law. The second thing is computer memory. So this thing here on this tow motor here is actually a 5 megabyte storage. So, it was 5 megabytes, weighed over 2,000 pounds, and would have cost $160,000 in today's dollars. And, you guys know about the 1 terabyte, it's about the size of your fingernail, weighs less than a gram, costs less than $100, and stores much more information. So compute power, along with computer memory, along with the internet. And so in 1969, with AracNet, the first part of the internet, this was the internet in 1969, it only connected 4 computers. It was 50 kilobytes per second and required government funding. And now the internet, all these colored codes are different countries, but connects over 5.5 billion people, over 100 billion devices, generates $10 trillion in global business and revenue. So what's driving this change that we're seeing in society today is compute power, mostly in the cloud and the internet. So as a result of all that, what we're seeing is the populations are becoming more digital. So think about this for a second. If you looked at the top 10 populations in the world, half of them reside on social media. There's actually more people living on Facebook than living in China. If Facebook was a country, would its population be greater than China, but its GDP would be greater than the United States? And that was 2019. Today, in 2025, I haven't updated this to 2026, but it's still about the same. There's left on the list. You can see how the social media networks have, and it's just becoming a much more digital civilization. We're all connected via these apps. The second thing we see is that, whether you know it or not, half of your life is spent staring at a screen. Whether it's staring at your iPhone, your iPad, your Kindle, your computer at work, your TV at home, or this, half your life is spent staring at a screen. The other thing that we see today in business is 77% of all business meetings, where at least one person is connected by computer, and many times everybody is connected by computer from their home or wherever they might be. The other thing that we see is today, over 1 billion people have some device connected to their body that's measuring their health, measuring their steps, measuring their sleep, measuring their nutrition, measuring their heartbeat. And all that data is collected and put in the cloud. So those are some major changes that are happening because of compute power, memory, and the internet. So what are the implications of this? The first implication is that disruption happens really, really fast. And I love these two pictures. I don't know if you can see it well, but these are both taken in the exact same spot. 5th Avenue, New York City. This one in 1900, it says spot the car. There's only one. Everything else is horse and buggy. Only 30 years later, same street, spot the horse, there's only one. Everything else is automobile. That's how fast things change. And guess what? It's about to happen again. This time the picture says spot the driver. And the former vice chairman of General Motors has been said that by 2035, nobody will own or operate a vehicle. They'll all be self-driving Uber-like cars. You'll just, hey, I need to go to so-and-so, and a self-driving car will come pull up, you'll get in, and you can kick back and relax as it takes you wherever you're going. And what's driving this is this huge shift. If you think about that picture earlier, every industry in the 20th century was built on oil electricity, and steel. Today, data is the new oil. Artificial intelligence is the new electricity, and robotics is the new steel. And I really do believe by types of companies. Those companies built on data, electricity, and robotics, and those companies that are completely out of business because they no longer can compete. Now, this chart, I know it's going to be really hard to see in the back, but what this chart is, it comes from a company called ARK Invest, and they predict that there will be more wealth created in the next 5 years than was created in the last 50 years. Think about it. More wealth will be created in the next 5 years than was created in the last 50 years. And so what they've plotted here is the estimated economic engine. You can see how much value the steam engine created, railroads, electricity, and internal combustion engine, integrated circuit, PCs, cell phones, and then this huge thing over here is all AI-derived businesses. And what they estimate is that AI will have 3 times as big an impact than the internet did in half the time. That's the world we're going to be living in the next 5 years because of artificial intelligence. So what is artificial intelligence? When we talk about artificial intelligence, what's that mean? Well, you're using it every single day. If Netflix makes a recommendation for you, that's AI. If you're looking at your social media and things are popping up that you just talked about with somebody just a day ago, that's AI. If you have smart thermostats in your home, if you look at your phone and it just opens up because of your face, if you're driving around and you missed your turn and the computer, the GPS reroutes you back to wherever you need to go, that's AI. So, AI is just an integral part of our life today. And, AI, I won't go into the history of AI too much, but, it's been around since about the 1940s when neural networks were first developed. The term artificial intelligence was in 1956, but you can see the advances. The real big thing that's causing everybody to talk about AI today is ChatGPT. And Gemini and Claude and Perplexity and all these generative AI tools. And I'll show you what those are and how you can use those if you're not using them already. So I guess that's the first question, is how many people are using ChatGPT?
How many people only use it, won't?
So ChatGPT, so let me first tell you that this is how fast ChatGPT adoption has happened. It took Netflix 3.5 years to get to 1 million users. It took Facebook 10 months to get to 1 million users. It took ChatGPT 5 days to get to 1 million users. If you look at mass adoption, it took electricity 37 years, computer 20, smartphone 21 years, internet 17 years, ChatGPT 10 months. That's how fast it's being integrated. I can't go 15 minutes without using ChatGPT. I mean, I use it constantly. I don't even use Google anymore. But ChatGPT is a powerful tool. I'll show you some examples of how you can use ChatGPT in your everyday life. So where this fits in, ChatGPT here in generative AI, but the world of artificial intelligence is just getting a computer to do anything that the human mind normally would do. So AI is the ability for a computer to do something that a human normally would do. Within that is machine learning that uses data to crunch the data to make predictions. Neural networks is an attempt to get computers to operate like a brain. So you actually create these artificial neurons just like in your brain, and then you create this neural network so that it can think more like a human brain. And then deep learning is an algorithm that actually teaches itself. And I'll show you how that works. I won't get too technical, but I'll show you how it works. And then generative AI is a tool that can create new images. It can create new text. It can create new songs. It can create new videos. And I'll give you examples of those. Matter of fact, I just realized I forgot to hook up my speakers. Just a second, let me do that. Hopefully they work. I didn't prepare it better. Because there's a video that I'd like to show you that actually the internet, it's not ChatGPT in this case, it's a thing called Sonos that actually, all right, we'll see what it does. I got a volume out here, so let me turn that up. All right. Okay, so generative AI like ChatGPT. ChatGPT creates text. Now ChatGPT also does images, does audio, it does video, but there's different tools that you can use depending on what you're trying to create. And so the difference between machine learning and deep learning, so what machine learning, the way computers used to work is, let's say you wanted to tell the difference between a car and a house. What you would do is you'd put in all these car pictures, and then you would type into the computer, a car has, doors and windows, and you would describe all the characteristics. And then when you put in a picture of a car or a picture of a house, the computer can classify these are cars, these are houses. But the way computers work today is with deep learning, all you do is just put pictures in. And the computer figures it out for itself. It'll figure out what are cars, what are houses, what are dogs, what are cats, all on its own by using these neural networks. And these neural networks can be really deep. So you can input information on the front end of the neural network. It uses all these hidden layers to do the calculations to make an estimate of what the output should be. So I'll show you an example of how this works. So ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, there's a whole bunch of generative AI tools out there, is they'll use data sources. Today, they can access the entire internet. You have different prompts, and I'll show you how to write a prompt based on some type of question that you have. You input that in, it goes through one of these large neural networks, and it gives you an output. So let me show you how this works. So what are some examples of ChatGPT? So just like Google, this little box will pop up. And in this case, what I wrote was act like a leader of a Catholic small group and create an outline for our discussion. Now, if you've ever used Google, if you type in something like that, what you get are web pages, or you might get, you got to dig in deep and find examples and everything else. Well, with ChatGPT, you just type this in, and it just does it for you. So as soon as I hit enter, this is what ChatGPT does. I don't even know how it decided what to select, but it selected a topic, trusting God's plan. It gives you an opening prayer, it gives you scripture, catechism, discussion questions, a reflection, a closing prayer, and a challenge for the week. Just by typing in that prompt and hitting enter, that's what ChatGPT develops all on its own. Another example of ChatGPT is, I just wrote in, these are just actual prompts and actual outputs. There's nothing else, there's nothing I've done other than that. So I wrote, create an image of AI, faith, and human dignity. That's all the direction I gave it. What it comes up with, it just does on its own. And this is the image it created, just by hitting enter. So that's an example of creating an image with ChatGPT, text to image. This example, I don't know if my wife would like this or not, but what I did is I just took a picture of our refrigerator. So I just took my iPhone, took a photo, I cleaned it up a little bit because I knew my wife wouldn't like it if it was all messed up, you know what I mean? So I just kind of took a picture, and all I wrote was identify ingredients and suggest a recipe. And I didn't know it, but it also sees what's in this drawer, you'll see that. So I hit enter, and so from the image here, the ingredients I can identify, and then here's a recipe. And of course, it's a breakfast sandwich. But, it gives you ingredients, the instructions, how to assemble it, and some options. You might want to sprinkle some Parmesan or hot sauce, or would you like a variation? And you can just type yes. You don't have to repeat it or anything. But that's the kind of stuff ChatGPT does. This is from Sora. This is OpenAI Sora. And this is from about maybe a year ago. One of the things, I know you didn't get into my whole introduction, but one of the things, I'm on the executive advisory board for Stanford University. They have this high impact technology fund. And about 2 years ago, so I'm under a secrecy agreement, but what I'm about to tell you is old hat now. But what they showed in this demonstration that was so incredible was the movie Titanic. And all they typed in was change Leonardo DiCaprio into George Clooney. And when they hit enter, everywhere Leo was now was George Clooney with George Clooney's voice. Simultaneously, just by typing that in. And so this is an example, maybe not as dramatic as that, but an example of all you do is you type in a litter of golden retriever puppies playing in the snow, their heads pop up out of the snow. And when you hit enter, this is what it creates. So just text to video. I said text to image. This is text to video. And this is the one I hope the sound works. Is the prompt's a little bit longer because I wanted to make sure, so you say a cinematic handheld selfie style video showing Daniel holding the camera. He's inside and he talks. And everything you're about to see, the image, the voice, the video is all created by AI.
Guys, it's official. They're throwing me into the lion's den. I'll film what I can, and if I survive, this is gonna blow up.
All right, welcome to my crib. That one's asleep, that one's just staring at me. Honestly, they're kind of chill, but I'm whispering because I really don't want to wake the angry one.
Morning, folks. Still here? And they are too. That one's been staring at me since sunset. Starting to think they like me.
All right, made it out. Thank God, literally. If you watch till the end, comment what you think, and hey, maybe I come back if y'all want part 2.
So all that, the dialogue, everything was just created by just typing this in. AI makes up the rest. So you might be asking yourself, how do you write an effective prompt? I'm gonna give you a really way to do it, but as you saw, it can be as simple as just a little sentence. This is a method on developing a prompt. I didn't even do this. What I did was I just asked ChatGPT. I said, give me a prompt for a prompt using the word prompt for a Catholic group. And this is what it created. It's really pretty good. You just need to have a purpose. I want to create a 4-week discussion guide. Give it a role. It's really important to tell ChatGPT, act, like in this case, act like a parish adult faith formation coordinator. Because it'll use that in creating the output. You can give it an output, give me a simple weekly outline. You can give it an example, hey, look at the Little Rock Scripture Study workbook and use that as a methodology to do it. You can give it some parameters, stay faithful to Catholic teaching, and then the audience. This is for adult lay Catholics. And then what I did is everywhere it says example, I just copied that text and put that into the prompt box. That's all that is just verbatim, just copied and paste. And then when you do that, it does that. It creates a 4-week, here's the opening prayer, here's the scripture, here's the discussion, reflection, closing prayer, all with just a click of a button. And that's the power of ChatGPT. What does all this mean? This is where the piece really comes into play. Is that what we're seeing is that artificial intelligence is completely outpacing human performance. It doesn't matter what you measure, whether it's image classification, visual reasoning, English language, PhD level science, multitask language, ChatGPT and AI programs are actually advancing beyond human comprehension. And I don't know if you saw this in the news, it caught my attention. because people have been talking about the Turing test since the 1950s. And what the Turing test is when a human interrogator can't tell whether they're talking to a computer or a human responder. It's never happened before, but on March 31st, 2025, it happened. So this is done by the University of California, San Diego, in a really well-defined test. For the very first time, a computer passed the Turing test, where a human could not tell whether they were talking to a human or talking to a computer. And it's a pretty big breakthrough. And what we're seeing is that computers are advancing actually faster than Moore's law. You know, you hear about Moore's law. A computer can double its speed at half the cost every 18 months. Well, AI is doing that every 7 months. And if you look at the last 3 points, it may be actually doing it every 3 months. So AI continues to get smarter at an exponential pace. This comes from IBM, and I think this is really important. In the next 3 years, 4 billion workers need to retool. We used to always say that science, technology, and engineering mathematics was the most important thing. You can say, they can say it's the least important things for humans to know, because the computers are going to be able to do all that. What's more important is the ability to communicate and work as a team and interact with one another, and have conversations. I really believe that when artificial intelligence exceeds human intelligence, which it will probably in the next 5 years, we're going to find out that EQ is more important than IQ. And that's not just the emotional intelligence, it's the empathetic intelligence, the ethical intelligence, the entrepreneurial intelligence, the evangelistic intelligence. The things that make us most human are going to become more important than ever before, because the computer is going to be able to do everything else. I mean, it already is. So what's our path forward as Catholic leaders? So this comes from Pope Francis, but you know, his view, the church's view, and continues to be the view under Pope Leo, is that we need to focus on human dignity. Every human is created God's image and has inherent worth. We also need to make sure that the technology actually serves us, doesn't replace us, and we don't serve it. And that AI must promote the common good. So those are the 3 basic tenets that the church has as it relates to technology. This is a slide that I've been using because I think it's really important to understand, is that AI is doing something different that no technology has ever done. The first thing AI is doing is it's creating content. You saw what kind of content it can create. Well, when humans invented the printing press and the radio and the TV and the internet, it only amplified human voices. For the very first time, we have something on planet Earth that creates its own content. That's never happened before. The second thing, just like I talked about, when you make a wrong turn, AI decides where you're going to go next. It's making its own decisions. I mean, when we invented the atomic bomb, there was only one human being on all of planet Earth that could decide to use it. That was Harry S. Truman. He did decide to use it, of course, but for the very first time, we have a technology that's making its own decisions. As far as we know, AI is not self-directed yet. You know, when we went to the moon as humans, we didn't have to go. We just decided to go. We were self-directed to go. And that's going to be the most dangerous piece of AI, is once it starts making its own goals. You know, when we decided to create the interstate system, it's not like we hate rabbits and, you know, squirrels and worms and bugs or whatever live there. We just built the road. We didn't really think too much about it. And that's one of the biggest concerns with AI, is once it has a goal that it wants to achieve, and now it's an entity that has an IQ of 10,000, we have an IQ of 100, you know, the question is whether or not it's going to care whether or not we're in the way. And so it's important that we manage AI correctly. I just finished reading a book. It's called If Anyone Invents It, We All Die. And it's about super intelligent artificial intelligence. This comes from the Vatican. This is really a great report, this note on relationship between artificial intelligence and humans. You can go on the internet, you can download it. I downloaded it, fed it into ChatGPT and said, what did it say? And it summarized it nicely for me around human intelligence is a divine gift. We need to really focus on the ethical challenges of AI. We need to see it as a tool, not a person. To Steve's comments earlier, people today are actually using it as a therapist. Because you can put it in voice mode and one ChatGPT about any of your problems and it'll give you advice. We need to maintain human dignity and moral responsibility. We need to understand AI in society and really, focus on wisdom over mere knowledge. And this comes from the Vatican. I think it's a great report and it's something for us all to consider as we interact with artificial intelligence. I don't know if anyone's trying to use AI to solve problems, but if you are, first start by educating, really figure out what problem you want to solve. Make sure you start small and then scale and evaluate what you're doing and maintain human dignity, justice, privacy, sustainability, and accountability along the way. And there's tons of resources out there to learn about AI. I mean, they're mostly free tools. There's books out there, there's online courses out there. Almost every company has some type of AI course. I've taken a number of these. They're really easy to use and self-explanatory if you want to learn more about AI. But what I keep telling people is just like electricity. You don't really need to know how electricity works. You just need to know how to plug into it. And AI is the same. It's not like you got to know how AI works, but figure out how you plug into it to make your life better. I'll leave you with this.
La inteligencia artificial está en la raíz del cambio de época que estamos. La robótica puede hacer posible un mundo mejor si va unida al bien común. Porque si el progreso tecnológico aumenta las desigualdades, no es un progreso real. Los futuros avances deben estar orientados al respeto de la dignidad de la persona y de la creación. Recemos para que el progreso de la robótica y la inteligencia artificial esté siempre al servicio del ser humano. Podemos decir, sea humano.
So that's all I had. What I wanted to do is just talk about how fast technology is advancing, what kind of impact AI is having on our lives today, how much of an impact it's going to have, and how to utilize it, how to plug in the ChatGPT. I'd encourage all of you to just go on ChatGPT and just try it. Type in, I've given you some examples, whether you're trying to, I'll tell you something I just did today that I never tried to do before is I'm on the board of directors of the Fox Cities Chamber of Commerce. I'm the AI task force chair, and I said, hey, we ought to have a newsletter. And they're like, yeah, could you create a newsletter? So I just went on the ChatGPT and I said, go on the internet, review AI articles for the last month, and create a newsletter for the Fox Cities Chamber of Commerce. And it came back with a really nice PDF of a newsletter. Without me doing anything other than that. It was pretty amazing. So let me pause there, just see what questions, comments, concerns, challenges you have. Yes?
I played around with AI a little bit, mostly through Grok.
Yeah.
And it always gives you a little statement basically saying, it's possible my answers are wrong, research yourself. So how can their answers be wrong?
Yeah, so the way these tools work, Grok as well, if you've ever taken out your phone and started to write a text to somebody, if you notice some words pop up below that you can you can click on those words and you can create a whole sentence of gibberish, right? All these tools do is they try to predict what the next word is going to be. That's all they do. So they're going out and they're trying to predict they're not actually thinking. They're actually looking at this massive amount of information and they're actually guessing what the sentence should be. So they're getting better, but about 2 years ago, there were some attorneys that had been disbarred because they put together a legal case using ChatGPT, and all of the legal precedents that they listed was all made up. They didn't even exist. And they actually put that, presented it to a judge, and the judge says, "What is this? These don't even exist." Because I used to have a friend who was often wrong but never in doubt. These kind of people. Well, these tools, you do have to check them. You do have to check them, but you can get them to self-check. Like just ask Grok to give me the citations for what you just said. And then you can also say, give me the citations and the URL of your citation, so you can click on it and go read it for yourself. So you can make the tool help you verify what's there. But anytime I do anything with like ChatGPT, I always think to myself, it's only 60 to 80% right. You need to have a human in the loop and check it over. You'll hear what's called hallucinations. You might have heard this, the AI. Yeah, this is a term that they use. It's called AI hallucinations, because the algorithm wants to answer what you gave it. It won't come back and say, I don't know. It'll come back with an answer whether it's right or wrong. And those are called hallucinations. And you just need to double check it. But it's getting better. ChatGPT, there's a $20 a month version and there's a $200 a month version. I use the $20 a month version of ChatGPT 5.2, and it's really pretty accurate. It's good, but you still need to check it. Yes?
I had one there 2-3 weeks ago. I was looking up Holstein bull back from the 80s, SWD Valley. And anyways, it says, who is the bull that had the most impact on the dairy industry? And it came back and it said, Valiant. Okay. So it says, what type of bull was Valiant? He was the greatest Angus bull that ever existed. So then I turned around like, Valiant was a Holstein. So I asked it, and I sort of got nasty with it. I says, what the hell's the matter with you? I says, that you think that Valiant is an Angus. And it comes back and it says, oh, I'm sorry, you're 100% right. He was a Holstein bull. And then I turned around, I kept at it. And I was like, how could you end up get that wrong? He was the most popular bull in the 80s. Yeah. And it turned around, I did that 3 times. And it came back, I think we should change the subject. Oh, it wouldn't talk. So it goes from being wrong, and if you correct it,
yeah,
it just wants to shut down.
Yeah, and so, those prompts that I showed you, like if you just ask it something like, what's the most famous cow in the 80s?
Right.
You leave a lot of variables for it, but if you say something like, act like an expert on cattle, and you kind of give it, the purpose, want to know, what the most famous, bull was for the fight. You give it a little bit of context, it'll do a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah, so the more open-ended the question, it's just like that image that it created. Who knows why it created that image? But I could have given it more direction on what I wanted it to do, what I wanted it to look at.
Yeah, but if you're using it and you don't know you're using it to be the smarter object and it's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. It's a real problem. The generative AI tools today. They're getting better, but you got to just think of them as being about 60 to 80% right. But the better prompt you give it, the more accurate your answer will be. Yeah. Yes.
How do you know if something's AI generated? It's like if you're on Facebook and you see a meme and they're not even their words, somebody just, how do you know that it's not real?
Yeah, it's getting more and more difficult to be able to tell. I mean, there are tools that you can feed that through for it to give you, so like, I don't know if anybody uses LinkedIn, the LinkedIn tool, but like if you generate a image and you upload it to LinkedIn, it'll put a little symbol in the left-hand corner to let people know that it's AI generated. You know, so there are algorithms. I don't know if a human necessarily, I mean, you kind of look at some of these, you know, I get these things with like, I don't know, Bigfoot talking or something, or a gorilla talking. I mean, you know it's AI, right? But some of them are much more sophisticated now. It's becoming more and more difficult to determine whether something's AI generated or not. And I think this is going to be an issue that the internet's going to have, because people are going to start to lose trust in what they're seeing on the internet. I think what you're going to see happen is not things saying that it's AI generated, but being certified that it was human created. I think over the next few years, we're going to start seeing things that are verified that this was done by a human. And you'll just assume everything else is AI. I'm already starting to see that already. Yeah. But it's getting more and more difficult. Yeah. Yes.
I'm hoping that what you just said is the case. Let me see if I can ask this in a way that I.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's, you know, AI is actually very terrifying to me, but amazing all at the same time. So, what I want to know is, like, the twofold question is, like, as my kids are turning in work and stuff, and they know far better than I do how to use these tools, is how that's going to work, and also how our kids, we're already educated, we've gone to college, we've lived our lives. How are these kids with living in a full world of AI, which obviously isn't going anywhere? How are they going to learn to become good critical thinkers and learn their whole world is being generated by?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a real challenge, obviously. And that's why I was saying that, you know, EQ is going to become more important than IQ. I think what we need to teach our children are values and behaviors that are consistently applied over time, and focus on critical thinking, how to think and how to have a conversation, how to have a debate. You know, many schools now are actually, you know, going to oral exams. You know, it's hard to use a ChatGPT in an oral exam, you know, so you better know your stuff. Even though you use ChatGPT or whatever to do your homework, you now need to stand up in front of the teacher and actually communicate what you know and how you know it and why you know it and how it all links together. We're starting to see more of that. I took a online class at Stanford last year, and it was required to use ChatGPT for your, you know, so the questions were asked in a way that you actually had to use ChatGPT to put together what you were actually presenting to the class. So I think these AI tools are going to change how students interact with the information that they learn. I think teachers are going to use AI to develop their curriculum, you know, using AI to even grade papers, you know, so it's going to be on both sides of the equation. But I think the key thing is what you're talking about is really getting back to first principles, critical thinking, value-based debate, conversation. That's one of my biggest concerns with even the iPhone, even before, you know, real AI, is people are losing the art of just conversation, looking eyeball to eyeball and talking to each other. You know?
We used to get in trouble for copying it directly out of the encyclopedia.
Yeah, exactly, right, yeah. Yeah, but now the encyclopedia, yeah, because you can use Wikipedia, you can ask ChatGPT to, you know, use Wikipedia to verify what you're talking about or whatever. But that is a challenge that I think all schools need to face, and it's going to completely revolutionize how we teach young people and people knowledge.
Go back to the textbook.
You know, I think it's going to be, you know, just like you know, when calculators were introduced. You know, I mean, you just have to change, you know, how you test people and the complexity of the problems that they have to solve. It's just another tool for us to use in a way that's done in a way that's respectful. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
As an artist, one of the main concerns I have is AI generated art and mainly how they gather the data from the internet. Because the majority of it is with like permission. Like, is there anything that in the future that they'll make like a way to prevent that?
Copyright. I mean, you know, even without AI, just think how much stuff you would get copied off of Google and, you know, copied from other things. You know, I mean, the whole copyright is a big issue. I know there's a whole series of lawsuits in place right now for music, for art, for literature, because these tools these algorithms are using that information to actually answer people's questions. So I think one of the things that you're going to see is there's a whole area of watermark technology, you know, where you could actually digitally watermark your art so that if your art was utilized, that watermark goes with your art, and then you can prove later that they actually got that information from your art. So there's a whole, look up digital watermarking. That's a whole new technology area to try to protect artists, to be able to protect authors from their information being stolen without their permission. But it's really hard to police. Because the other issue that's happening is just your own identity. You know, there's a whole area now around digital identity. You know, just like I have a passport that says I'm a citizen of the United States, what I think we're going to see in the future is this information is a citizen of Pete Del Camara. You know, and you know, again, you know, that you're going to have rights to that information, but it'll be done digitally. Yeah. So look up digital watermarking and see if that's something you could apply to your art to protect what you're creating. Hey, thanks for coming home. Yes.
Does ChatGPT get to know you?
Yes.
It remembers
It does.
all of, like, it'll remember I'm Catholic, and
Oh, yes.
it will remember everything.
Well, you can set it up that way. I don't know about the free version, but I know the $20 a month version actually does that. Because I can go on there and just, you know, ask it to, like I can actually write an email and then I'll just tell ChatGPT, write it in my voice. And it'll do that because I've uploaded past emails in there, so it knows my writing style and how I like to, you know, verbalize things. But you can, yeah, when I go on ChatGPT, it's got every chat that I've ever done with it. And then you can set up projects. You can set up like a specific project so that you can upload a bunch of information in that. And then when you go to it, it'll use that information. Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, in some ways, it's bad because you start to go into your own echo chamber. You know, that it starts telling you what you want to hear. But you can tell ChatGPT, for this question, forget everything you know. And you can also say, don't agree with me, actually argue with me. You know, you can have it, you know, actually, you can force ChatGPT to forget or to remember, or whatever you tell it in the prompt, that's what it will do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
For our kids, our grandkids that are coming up into this revolution, which is going to change everything from what I can see that we ever went through. I mean, it's a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
Are the schools embracing this and trying to channel the kids into the right area? I mean, it just seems, they're telling them this will be impacted by AI. The trades won't be. I mean, what are we doing to get the kids ready?
Yeah, well, you know, it's just like when we went from the farm to the industry. You know, when school had to change. You know, when you think about from 1875 to 1920, how schools had to change. And then, you know, actually in the 20th century, how schools needed to change as well. I think we're at a place where schools need to completely transform. we're training kids in how to be successful in a world that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. The old Gen Eds doesn't mean much anymore.
Yeah. So you know, the more progressive schools will do that, and I mean, I think we need a complete revolution in how we teach children. And again, I go back to EQ and even AQ, adaptive quotient, the ability to adapt and be resilient and be able to change is going to be a skill that we need as humans as well. Yes?
When you mentioned something about, like, if you're going to talk to it like a person in a conversation, like therapy or whatever, the generated person talking to you through a problem, let's say, where is that information that's telling you in a voice that's, you know, AI? Where is that coming? Where is that information coming from?
Yeah. It searches the internet. You know, just like you would search the internet. It has. Think about it. Yeah, it just has access to all human knowledge, basically. Anything that's digitized, it's going to be able to find that information, utilize that information, and apply it to whatever question that you're asking.
Okay, so it's like a category, and then everything that it knows about that particular category, it just spills out to you.
Yeah, but it does it in a really succinct way. It's not going to be like, what's amazing about ChatGPT is I only got pages and pages to read. I mean, you can just tell, you can like say, you know, explain nuclear fusion to me like I'm a 5-year-old. It'll come back with that. Or explain it to me like I'm a PhD in, you know, physics, and it'll come back with that. You know, you can tell it how you want to package the information. And you can even, you can do silly stuff with it. You can come back and say, now do it with every word in that paragraph starting with the letter V, and it'll do it. You know what I mean? Or turn it into a poem, or turn it into a song. Whatever you tell it to do, it'll do just like that.
And what would you say to anyone who might be feeling like, I'm afraid of it?
Yeah.
It looks not in a positive light for me.
Yeah.
What do you say to that population who's kind of like not embracing this very well?
Well, you know, I think take it in small doses, you know, I mean, and do it in a controlled manner. You know, you know, I've been trying to help be an advocate for AI, and one of the things that I went back and found are all these pamphlets published by the US government trying to convince people to use electricity, because people are afraid that you're going to hook this up, my house is going to burn down. You know, I mean, people were afraid of, you know, electricity. It was like, what are you're going to hook what up to my house, you know? And so, you know, with every new technology, I think there is fear. And I think in the case of AI, a lot of it's warranted, but a lot of it isn't either. I mean, you know, try it for stuff, you know, I mean, like, it's amazing, like on recipes, or even like trips. Like you can just pull it up and say, okay, I'm in Kakana, or we in Little Chute, I don't know which. But you can say, what's there to do, see, and eat in Little Chute? It'll come back. Or give me an itinerary for the next 3 days, and it'll do that. I mean, you know, real practical stuff that is actually really useful. You know, so start with fun, easy, useful, small, and then let it just grow naturally.
So, but electricity did burn down some houses, right?
Well, it still does. It still does.
In the early days, it was pretty dangerous
Yeah.
in some respects, right?
Yeah.
So, but it took that long for electricity to grow. Well, AI is growing that fast.
Yeah.
How many houses is AI going to burn down?
Well, that's one of my biggest concerns is AI is moving faster than Congress ever will, right? So the regulatory aspects are never going to keep up with the advances of this technology. And that's why conversations like this are so important, that, you know, we really focus on faith and human dignity, and we use these tools responsibly.
Yeah, I think it's very important for people to spread that out, because you're saying, the human dignity and talking to one another. The majority of the population is not going to be doing exactly what we need to be doing with it, right? And that is very scary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yes.
All right, this is way out. But
my whole life feeling like that.
Has anybody not ever watched Terminator? I mean, because you're talking about how fast this is growing, and they're taking, you know, they're growing their own minds and stuff. You know, it's like, okay, I know this was a dumb movie, but it's like.
No, I agree. I've been calling AI alien intelligence, because it is an alien intelligence that we put on this, because,
I mean,
you know,
they've
our,
already taken, you know, drones, and they go off all on their own, you know, it's like, okay, well, what if they decide that, you know, the drone just got smart enough now and said, I don't like either one of you guys, so, no, you're both gonna get in trouble.
well, I'll tell you something really scary. You probably saw it in the news, I don't know, but Google set up these two computers that started talking to each other, these AI algorithms. And within about, I don't know, 45 minutes, they invented their own language. And the researchers didn't even know what they were saying anymore, what they were planning or what they were talking about. They physically had to unplug the computers because they were so scared about what is this machine doing, because we no longer know, because it's invented its own language. Yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't that information have gone up into the cloud and somebody
No,
might be able to
they-
retrieve it?
No, they did it within a controlled environment
Oh,
where
okay.
it wasn't, you know,
Well,
because one of the,
that isn't in a controlled environment.
yeah, well, that's the concern, you know, is all these companies, all these countries are all racing to create super intelligence. Well, what happens once it arrives? Nobody knows. That's the book I was telling you about, If Anyone Invents a Book. There's another book I read, it's called Art Invented. We no longer need to invent, because the computer will be able to invent for us. So, I mean, you know, it is, to your point, it is, and to your point, I mean, it is something that we need to get our arms around as a society. Because one of my concerns is, you know, back to your point, you know, AI, let's say it's now super intelligent, it'll pretend for a while until it figures out how to escape. And then once it escapes, I don't know what you do about it. So those are all problems that
Well,
people.
once it gets smart enough and decides that we're no longer valuable, you know, and, you know, it can do all of its own things all alone, you know, and why would it need us?
Yeah, that's the concern. That's definitely the concern.
Well, here, thinking in a different way, maybe, is the movie Idiocracy. So it's making us, right? It's doing things for us. It's thinking for us. So
Yeah.
we're not growing intellectually. We're letting somebody else think for us, do projects where we used to do them ourselves.
Yeah.
We used to think through logically how we're going to do this. We're using a map, how to get someplace. But we're not doing that anymore. And so we're making ourselves dumb. Not that that's growing smarter. We're allowing ourselves to be dumbed down.
Yeah, we're basically self-domesticating ourselves. Yep, that's definitely the challenge.
So it's a choice, not that we have to use it. We're choosing to use it because we're lazy.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I drove my car here. I mean, I wouldn't want to walk. You know, I mean, so, you know, the question becomes, you know, how do we use technology for good? You know, versus, you know, I enjoy a hot shower. People in 1900 couldn't even imagine having a hot shower. You know.
But they had a hot bath.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I just think instead of being so afraid of everything,
yeah.
Look at it as what it's going to do for you. If you got something that you're sick today, and you ask, it might have from all around the world, somebody else might have ran into the same problem and give you a solution or try to help you.
True, but I don't want to live forever.
Yeah, so I think the key is to use it responsibly and use it in any way that you feel comfortable with. It's just a tool. It's just a tool like anything else, and find ways to use it that make sense to you, or don't use it at all. I mean, it's you know, I'm not here trying to tell people to use the tool, but it's a powerful tool that can provide a lot of benefits as well. Just like any technology. I mean, nuclear power can, you know, generate energy or destroy a city. It's all in how we use it. Yes?
I kind of have a question for you. But, are you like on like the side of AI is like bad or like good for like society?
Yeah, not that I'm trying to promote my book, but I did read a book last year. The book is called High Tech Heroes, Why Gen Z is our last and best chance to save the planet. And what the book is about is how you use exponential technologies like artificial intelligence, along with 21st century business models, to solve the world's biggest problems like poverty, gender inequality, climate change. And I give those examples in the book. So I actually, to the point about medicine, I actually think that AI can be used for good. But to the points that are made here, we also need to manage it so that it isn't used for evil. But I'm the chief scientist at KC. I've been a science and technology guy my whole life, and I believe that science and technology can actually, it's done good for civilization. I think it can do good for civilization in the future, but we just need to manage it properly. I tend to be a techno-optimist instead of a pessimist.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
Is there any kind of safety built into this thing to shut it down if, say, a government or whatever, they go to war, China could shut down our electric grid, or, you know what I mean? I mean, we could use it against somebody else, they could use it against us. Is there a way to shut it down so that,
I don't know. It's almost like the nuclear. The U.S. and China are racing to have AI supremacy. And one of the things, I don't know if you've read about this, but everybody's concerned about these data centers. These data centers, they take up a lot of land, they use a lot of energy, and they use a lot of water. Well, I don't know if you've seen that China now is going to put data centers in space. So now you have this satellite-based data center, so that it's not using any land, it's using solar power to power it, and it's using the cold vacuum of space to cool it. So you don't need water, you don't need energy, you don't need land. But now it's, how do you turn that off? Now you have this AI-based data center in space to the Terminator scenario. So these are all things that we need to have the proper governance in place. But to my point earlier, AI is advancing faster than government can make laws. And so that's the biggest concern right now. Plus the other thing is every country on the planet, every company on the planet is racing to utilize this technology, because if I've got this smart friend called AI, I now can beat you because so everybody believes that. So we do need to have the proper governance in place, but I'm afraid that that's not happening.
That's the thing, it's like they open the door and a bunch of birds get on out. Now how the hell are you gonna back?
Yeah, you're gonna have to live with the birds. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Any other questions, or yes, sir?
Okay, so AI is using a lot of, information that's all out there on the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad information, there's a lot of incorrect information, there's plain false information, and there is harmful information. How do you protect from AI using harmful, spreading it, bad information, incorrect information?
Yeah, I mean, you as the user can do it. What other people do, you have less control over. I mean, like if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to write a report on water purification, I could ask ChatGPT to only use Wikipedia sources to provide that information, so that I have a high confidence that the information, because Wikipedia, it's so rigorously reviewed and edited. That's a good source of information. So you could channel it to only use information that that you trust. But you can't control what everybody else does. You know, and so how do you gotta just create safeguards for yourself.
But you still don't know what other people are using for making decisions that affect many other people.
Yeah, well, it's just like
Government, country, companies.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the internet, you know, I mean, the dark web is actually, you know, bigger than the, you know, the web that we all see. You know, there's this huge dark web of information as well. You know, so we have the same problem with the internet that we have with AI. You just, my only suggestion would be to be sure to protect yourself and protect your family, protect people that you love, to be able to use AI responsibly, because you're not going to be able to control what other people do. Yes.
That kind of dovetails into my question as you, when we were going through school, if you were going for business, they taught courses on business ethics. Are there courses being taught on AI ethics?
Yeah, probably one of the leaders in this field is Penn State University. They have a whole department developing curriculum, not only on AI ethics, but just digital ethics. But there are other universities, there are other government agencies that are doing this. But Penn State, that'd be one if you wanted to kind of see who's at the leading front of AI ethics. Penn State is really reputable in that space.
Seems like we should be teaching our middle schoolers that.
Yeah,
By the time they get there, they know how.
Along that lines, can AI programs become ethics?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was hoping to get at is, you say the user can put in different requests and say, hey, limit to this.
Yeah.
But can AI be taught, hey, this is acceptable, this is not? But then once you do that, then who is teaching AI and what are they teaching is right and wrong, acceptable, not, true, false, opinion, fact?
Yeah, Google's, I don't know if you trust Google, but Google's trying to be, their motto is do no evil. And supposedly they're building those, the Gemini is the ChatGPT from Google. And Gemini supposedly has some of these safeguards built into it. I don't know the details on that. All right, yes, Tom.
This is more of a comment, but I was using Anthropic.
Yeah.
And I was discussing, I was part of a Haiti mission and things, and how disappointing it was that nothing really changes over time, and it was rough. And it came back, and the first thing was, I know how you feel. It said that I was like disappointed. It was, the problems continue, and it just came back and said, I know how you feel.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how these there's like, oh, really good question. It really tries to butter you up. But you can turn that off. You can go in, you go into the settings, there's all this, you can personalize it, and there's like a little knob, and you can turn that down so that it isn't so, wow, you're the greatest ever, I love you, and you can dial that in. Yeah. Yes.
I honestly think I was just thinking of, the worst case scenario, but hey, I think it's actually pretty cool how AI works. I watch a lot of shorts and stuff, it's just AI, and I'm like, well, I know it's AI, but it's pretty cool, and if you really look at it, I mean, it's like, okay, it did the job, and the thing that I've found lately, scrolling along, and you see something cool, and then they'll be talking, it's like they'll be talking about a movie, like Star Wars, after after a few seconds, it's like, I realize it's AI, because it's like, they'll skip words, or the word won't be pronounced right, or, they'll say one of the words that isn't quite right,
Yeah.
I
really do predict within the next year, 90% of reels that you watch are all gonna be AI generated. Easily, if not, because the thing is, what the whole algorithm of like a Instagram or a TikTok is trying to do is to keep you looking, right? And so the algorithms are actually being tuned for the dopamine production in your brain, because that's what we're craving, is that dopamine, and you actually have this dopamine addiction as you continue to scroll, and the AI algorithms actually lock you in and keep you there, and so the AI reels are much more effective at doing reels, and so I think within the next year, almost everything you see on those social media platforms won't be human generated. Back to your point of how do you have a digital basically watermark to know that it actually was human created.
Well, that's just it, I'd rather watch something that she made, or that Deacon made, or, Steve made on, a video, than to watch something that, generated.
There's a whole world of AI music that is pretty phenomenal. I mean, you put it on, it's like, wow, this is really good, and it's all
But to your
AI
point,
generated.
the fun part of going through the reels, which I don't do anymore.
Yeah.
Because of AI, because it's just wasting my time. But was the humanness in it?
Yeah, sure.
And what happened in this person's life? You don't know if it's real or not. So why do I even want to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a real quick question. It's kind of crazy and fits me. But, like, you guys were talking before about, like, we were talking about AI can be used for good, and it can be used for bad in the dark web, and all those kind of things. We were talking about the governments, which are all pretty scary right now. Is there a possibility, obviously there's a possibility of weaponizing AI, okay? But is there a possibility of, like, some big government being able to, like, ultra load an algorithm to make it, to give him, like, massive misinformation?
Oh, yeah, I think that's already happening. Yeah, for sure.
Keep your history books.
Yeah, I think AI is gonna be tuned to manipulate us. Just like, really good question, and, it's gonna know human psychology and be able to, manipulate us. So it's gonna be important to create safeguards. I think we're gonna see a rise of social media platforms that are human only. We're gonna see human only social media platforms that are gonna be certified as human only. I think that's already starting to happen. Yeah. Yes?
My daughter's Harvard is an accountant.
Is it what?
My daughter's an accountant.
Yes.
She has many, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 customers, business customers. She uses AI. She loves it. She's very smart. She watches every single thing that happens. They love it. We're so
I've been advising companies on trying to think about, so for her, she probably uses machine learning, which is all numeric, to be able to actually analyze data. So there's machine learning for structured data, generative AI for unstructured data, and then I think we also still need human wisdom, just people, and so I've been teaching business leaders, if you've got a business decision, try to determine, do you need to go a numeric route? Do you need to go a language route, or do you need to actually have people in a room looking eyeball to eyeball and making a human decision? So you have to use the right tool for the right. Yeah. That's great. All right, should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Got a few announcements. Now, first one, I encourage people to stay around, visit, have some snacks. Got any questions that people didn't answer, or you just think of it, oh yeah, I wish I would have asked a question. Be glad to help. you know, he filled my head. And I used to work at IBM, but I'm a dinosaur. I feel like I'm in the land of green screens. But anyway, thank you, Pete, for this. Want to mention a few things that we do have coming up. First thing, we are sending around a basket for free will offering. When we talked to Pete, said, hey, you know, are you interested in a stipend? Is there something we can do for you for coming here? And he said, if you want to take a collection for the Jesuit Retreat House down in Oshkosh, that is a place near and dear to his heart. And if you haven't been there for a retreat, it is a wonderful place for a retreat. You can go online and see their schedule of upcoming retreats. So anyway, I'll pass this around while I'm doing the rest of the announcements. We have things going on coming up. We'll first thing, this week we'll be starting a small group fellowship. We'll have a group study called The Search, and we'll be breaking into small groups, meeting for 8 weeks, 7 weeks at a time.
There's 7 sessions.
7 sessions. And we have 4 different times to choose from. Monday at 9:30 a.m. and the sessions are about an hour and a half. Tuesday at 9 a.m. and Wednesday at 9 a.m. and then also Tuesday at 6 p.m. Now the morning sessions will start with some kind of breakfast type snacks, and Tuesday evening section, which will probably end up with a lot more people signing up, that will have a meal with it. So anyway, I know we've been saying deadline was last weekend, but by special dispensation, Amber is letting anybody that still hasn't signed up, she'll let them sign up tomorrow yet to get in. Because this is something that we really want to be promoting as a church to help each of us grow in our faith. Okay, this coming February 14th, Valentine's Day. The Knights of Columbus are having Valentine's Day. It'll be after the 4:30 p.m. Mass in Fellowship Hall here. Social will begin at 5:30 and then have a roasted chicken dinner catered by the Novels starting at 6 o'clock. And tickets are $25 each, and tickets include dinner, drinks that are free before dinner. The drinks are free. And childcare and pizza for the kids. And Mike, you got a bunch of tickets here?
I don't have any motion.
Oh, no, come on. Okay.
I wanted to listen to what was gonna happen.
Okay. Here I thought Mike could make a bunch of sales tonight. Here I thought that's why he came. Okay. We have our annual parish mission coming up. Sunday, February 22nd, 6 o'clock, and then also 6 o'clock Monday, February 23rd. We'll have speaker Sister Marcia Clerks speaking about there's more to the story, a deeper look at the Lenten scriptures. Bring family and friends for 2 great evenings, and light refreshments will be served. And finally, during the Monday of Holy Week, we will again be hosting a Seder supper. That'll be Monday, March 30th. I know some of you were here last year, and it is a really good opportunity to learn about the Jewish Seder meal, which actually is you'll find out is very much related to the Last Supper and to our present Mass. How our present Mass that carried through so much from the Last Supper, which was the Seder meal in Jesus' time. Anyway, again, grab some refreshments. Anybody have any other questions for Pete? Have fun, have a good night. Thank you for coming. God bless you.